Well, Jurgen and Susan, it's great to have you on InGrace, and I've been appreciating what you guys do. You're promoting Israel, you're promoting the Jewish people, even to the point of opening what's called the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem. And I believe it was because no one else was putting their embassies in Jerusalem, which is crazy. You all opened this place. So tell us a little bit more about that. And you actually live in Israel, and you're the U.S. director, Susan. So tell us a little bit more about the organization.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. First of all, Jim, it's such a pleasure to be on your program here. And in 1980, in July 1980, the Israeli Knesset passed a law. It was called the Jerusalem Law. And that law said that Jerusalem is the eternal and undivided capital of the state of Israel. And it's not a big thing, you know, every nation has the right to decide what is their capital. But within 2 days, there was an emergency meeting of the Arab League, and they decided that every nation that would recognize Jerusalem as capital, meaning moving their embassy there or keeping it there, we would cut off the oil supply. And that was a very real threat, because in the 70s, you might remember, there was already an oil crisis because of Israel. So within a few days, there were 14 embassies already in Jerusalem. They closed their doors, they moved down to Tel Aviv. And people who lived at that time, and maybe Susan can add more to that, they said, you know, it shows us that when there is a crisis, there is only one people we can rely on, and that's us, ourselves. There's nobody standing with us. And something else happened in 1980, and I think this really was a prophetic time in salvation history. For the first time, Christians came to Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. You need to understand, you know, today many churches are doing this around the world. Back then in the 80s, nobody did that. This was the first of, this was unheard of. And they came to Jerusalem and they saw all the embassies walking away. And there were leaders like Derek Prince and Lance Lambert in Jerusalem. And they said, now if all the world is abandoning Israel, we are going to establish an international Christian embassy in Jerusalem to show the Jewish people that we love them, that we believe in their biblical destiny, and that we stand with Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel. And that's how it all started.
I just love it. I love it when Christians do the right thing. And even if the world is doing the wrong thing, Christians are doing the right thing. But finally, America did the right thing.
Absolutely.
So talk about your involvement with this organization and how you promote not only supporting Israel, but also combating anti-Semitism.
Well, I had just arrived in Jerusalem 1 month before that first Feast of Tabernacles and the announcement and the opening of the ICEJ. So I was there the day it opened. And when I finished my studies in Jerusalem, I actually moved on their behalf to Washington, D.C. and was there for over 30 years. And from there, we would build support for Israel. We would partner with other organizations that to have a larger political voice and political pull in our nation. But we also were a key pioneer in Jewish-Christian relations there in D.C. Many Jewish organizations headquartered there. We were able to help pioneer a new relationship between Jews and Christians in the United States. But you alluded also, we have a growing problem now of rising anti-Semitism. And it's actually shocking what we have happening in the United States of America. If you had told me even 10 years ago that we were going to have happening what we have, I would have said no way. But we do. And so we have been educating Christian leaders for the last 2 years about anti-Semitism, what it is, where to find its modern expressions, and how to counter it. And we are building educational resources because it's my conviction that it is the evangelical Christian demographic in America that has both the political and the moral strength to stand against anti-Semitism. If we don't, I don't know who will. And I feel this burden, a very strong burden. We must, because if we don't, who will?
Since I've gotten to know you and been part of, during COVID, some of the Zoom things, and I've been really praying, Lord, help me to be a better friend to the Jewish people and to Israel. one of the things that I did, a friend of mine encouraged me to join the Philos project, and we get notified when there's an act of anti-Semitism. We're in Chicago, and we got an email that a cemetery had been defaced, desecrated with swastikas. So my wife went out, and I went out there, and they tell us to bring a dozen roses, white roses, an homage to something that was happening in Nazi Germany. And so we brought the flowers, and a family of one of the tombs that was swastika was there, and they were crying because his father was a hero in World War II. He was a bomber, and he had flown all these sorties into Germany and survived. I think 50. No one had hardly survived 50, but he had made it out. He's buried there, and there's a swastika on his name. And it was disheartening to us. But I'm a pastor. I'm a Baptist pastor, and I said, we love the Jewish people. We're standing with you. We're standing against this. Gave them the flowers. I thought that would be the end of it, but we heard last week that the cemetery, the Jewish cemetery, is asking us to come back for the rededication of the cemetery. So it's such a small little thing, taking a couple hours out of my day, bringing them these flowers. I think that goes so far.
It does.
And those are the things I think that will change the tide.
And it's a perfect example of just the little things that we can all do when we see that there's a local act of anti-Semitism in our area. You don't have to be able to go and say fancy words. Just go with a white rose, and all you have to do is say, I'm really sorry. We're praying for you. That is all you have to say, and it speaks just loads to the Jewish people. It's just such a comfort, and those are the kinds of things that we need to be doing all across the nation, and we know Philos Project very well, very proud of them for doing that.
So let's talk more about Israel. We would agree that Israel is a unique country, a miracle, right, of our day. So what's it like to live in Israel? And I know you've made a number of trips there. So what's it like when you guys go to Israel or when you live in Israel?
Well, my wife and I, we are living since 29 years in Israel. And all our kids, they grew up there. They went to Israeli schools. 2 of our boys, they are serving in the army right now.
Wow.
And I must say, I believe it's one of the greatest privileges for us as family to live in Israel, because in so many levels it's an amazing country. First of all, economically, it's really a miracle nation. People call it a start-up nation. There is no other nations who have more new companies being established on a big scale like the nation of Israel. You know, I'm a physicist from background, and Israeli research, I think it's a world leader in research and science all around the world. And then secondly, also, it is still a nation. You know, you have all the wokeness around the world and the post-Christian cultures, and we don't see that so much in Israel, because there is a strong religious community that still assures that the nation sticks to its biblical values. And that's a great blessing to raise your kids in such an environment where, yes, they are liberal in so many ways, but I know they will never go as far as our Western countries are going. So it's a great place. And then you see biblical prophecy fulfilled with your own eyes. You know, I look out of the window of my office and I see the Lord building Jerusalem. We are on the tarmac in Ben Gurion. Just a few weeks ago, a plane landed. A few days ago, a plane landed from Ethiopia with 250 new immigrants. And it's not only fulfillment of prophecy, you know, where it says, well, the Jewish people will come back to their homeland. Isaiah 49 says, behold, I'm going to raise a standard to the nations, to the Gentiles, and they will bring your people back. So the Christian Embassy, we are working on a daily basis to help new immigrants coming back to Israel. And in a way, it's the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And I don't think there is any nation where you can be almost on a daily basis, be a part of what God is doing in that nation.
I know that part of living in Israel is also facing some of the dangers, rockets coming in, and I know that you've been under that. But your organization has helped finance bomb shelters, and so talk about that for a second. Just a way for us to show our concern and our care for our Jewish friends in Israel?
Well, when our organization was born, as Dr. Buehler was sharing, it was sort of on a political issue and sort of with a political sounding name, but from day one our mission statement was Isaiah 40 verse 1, which says, comfort ye, my people, says the Lord, speak tenderly to Jerusalem. And we were aware that we were a change in history, a pioneering work in the church of a new relationship with the Jewish people. And we were there to just demonstrate Christian love and support for the people. And so how do you do that? Well, in very practical ways. So we've had 43 years of very practical projects, but one of our really amazing projects and one of our largest projects today is placing these bomb shelters. And there's many vulnerable communities, especially down south along the Gaza border area, but even now up in the north of Israel, there's a growing vulnerability. And we place these bomb shelters here in public places that it takes too long to get to a shelter for their safety. So we're not only helping to save lives, but we're giving a community, we're giving families a sense of security that they know there's now a shelter at my children's playground. They're now safe. I can sleep a little bit better at night knowing that they have a shelter to run to. And on every shelter we have a plaque that says it was placed there by the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem. So even for the larger community, let's say they never use the bomb shelter, let's hope they never have to use it. Every day they'll drive by there and they'll see that Christians loved us enough to give of their dollars to place a shelter here to save our lives. And it just has amazing effects, and Jürgen might want to share a testimony of one of those.
Yeah, you know, I was speaking at a conference in Germany, and it was during one of those times when there was a rocket rain coming down over Israel of hundreds of rockets. And I received a phone call in Germany, and the guy said, it was an Israeli number, do I talk to Jürgen Buehler? And I say, yeah, that's me. And he says, I'm Shai Helmish, I'm a member of the Israeli Knesset. He says, Jürgen, you just saved my life. And I said, well, how can this be? I'm speaking right now in Germany at a conference. He says, we just had a red alert. That's what people get. They have 15 seconds time to run to a bomb shelter. He says, I ran to the next bomb shelter. This bomb shelter had a direct hit. And I saw inside there was a sign, International Christian Embassy. He says, Jürgen, you saved my life. And this became a lifelong friendship now with a member of Knesset. We visit him very often. It really saves lives, and it also changes the way how people think about Christians. You know, you need to understand, we Christians, we made the Jewish people life more difficult than any other people group here on earth. There was the Inquisition, there were the pogroms, the Crusades, and I'm from Germany, 6 million Jews in the country of Martin Luther. And today to see Christians supporting them, that's a paradigm shift for many of them.
Yeah, and there's a shift going on today, and
Absolutely.
I think it's being felt. And that's our purpose, to be the cup of cold water in the name of Christ, or the bomb shelter. Whatever it takes, whatever they need, whatever we can help them with. So you all have been a blessing. Keep doing what you do, and it's been great to be able to speak with you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed our program on YouTube. We want to continue to provide you some great videos on God, the Bible, and how it all connects with our world. It would really help us if you would consider subscribing to the InGrace YouTube channel. We would also like to have you comment. We will try to read and respond to them. And we also need you to hit the notification button and like the InGrace episode that you just saw. These ways will help more people hear about InGrace and more people hear the gospel of grace.